Hello and welcome to another soul-sucking episode of This Ain't No Game. This week's Blood Sunday is BloodRayne, our third stop as we march towards certain doom down the ever-worsening films of that Teutonic terrorist of video game movies, Uwe Boll. It's a movie about sexy medievalish vampires, and there's plenty of gore. But the most truly frightening thing about BloodRayne is that it leaves me with a lingering suspicion that Uwe Boll is some kind of evil filmmaking genius. Make no mistake, BloodRayne is, by any reasonable metrics, the worst of the Uwe Boll movies that I've watched for TANG so far. But there's almost something calculated about the stilted expository dialogue, the listless acting, bad wigs, and almost proudly inept special effects, like this was all done deliberately. It eventually turns that magic corner where its brain-damaging awfulness actually becomes kind of euphoric. There's just no way someone could make something this bad without it being deliberate. Right? BloodRayne takes some liberties with the setting of the source material, opting for that kind of vaguely pre-Victorian Europe land where everyone's either lives in a burlap tent or an ornate and empty castle. The men wear uniformly ill-fitting wigs, and seemingly every other person you meet is a freaking vampire. The basic character premise remains intact, with Kristanna Loken playing the sexy half-vampire Rain, who starts off the film as a blood-mustachioed carny freak. She quickly escapes and sets out on a quest to find and murder her evil vampire king dad, played with a grueling indifference by Ben Kingsley, whose distracted performance suggests that he, like everyone watching BloodRayne, can't figure out what the hell he's doing in this awful low-budget vampire movie. With the exception of Old Man Kingsley, none of the other lead actors seem like they really belong in a vampire movie. Michael Madsen is in full-on Reservoir Dogs mode, punctuating his performance with lots of squinting and unnecessary pauses.
You're bitten by a vampire and you don't remember anything that happened?
Kristanna Loken and Michelle Rodriguez compete furiously to see who can have the least consistent and half-assed British accent in the movie, a feud that culminates in a bewilderingly anticlimactic neck-snapping. Meatloaf shows up briefly as a bug-eyed and lascivious vampire who, sadly, gets disintegrated before he can break into song. His CG death comes off considerably better than Mike Madsen or Udo Kier, who both look like they're thinking of something else in their death scenes. About the only actor who brings the right kind of ridiculous energy to the movie is a smirkingly aristocratic Billy Zane.
Just stop throwing things at me.
Which makes it disappointing that after only 3 or 4 scenes, his dead-end subplot causes him to abruptly vanish from the movie. When Billy Zane turns in the best performance in your movie, you are in serious trouble.
You're such a sucker.
The actors, though, can only be as good as the material allows, and the material reads like it was written by a goddamn caveman.
That's ridiculous.
The dialogue in BloodRayne makes clear that Uwe Boll is a filmmaker who hates 2 things: non-expository dialogue and contractions. Virtually every occasion that someone opens their mouth is to explain what they're doing, what someone else is doing, or what they're going to do next. It reaches a point where it becomes non-sequitorial as characters violently shift gears from one subject to another mid-conversation. It's a movie free of subtext, because anything that could be implied is just stated outright.
It was Catherine.
When people aren't constantly explaining shit, there's lots of dudes on horses and big group fight scenes. Rain's got her trademark arm swords, though Kristanna Loken could not look less comfortable holding them, which leads to lots of her fight scenes looking slow-paced and timid, despite the weird guttural shriek that she's constantly belting out. The movie doesn't shy away from the blood and guts, though it makes the mistake of lingering on its cheap-looking gore effects for a little longer than it should, leading to plenty of presumably unintentional hilarity. After Rain has killed everyone and is sitting victorious in her father's throne, the movie fades to an inexplicable 3-minute montage of random scenes from the movie, in case you forgot that part where she was locked up in that cage or when she stabbed that guy. There's a lot of bloody effects shots in the montage, and the decision to run them in slow-mo really highlights just how hilariously unconvincing they all are, as if Uwe Boll is proud of that fact. It's a sequence that sums up BloodRayne as a whole pretty nicely. This is either the work of a filmmaking savant or a complete psychopath. And that's going to do it for this week's edition of This Ain't No Game. I'm Ryan Davis, reminding you that vampires shouldn't live in houses with stained glass windows. Seriously, guys, you should know better.
Leonid!
Right?